All right, so now we're going to pick up about periodic inventory counting. So there's two types, right? The first one is called FIFO, first in, first out. What it does specifically is that it is there to take inventory for single selling units. An example of that would be bag salads. Bag salad specifically makes a big difference because when we're looking at FIFO, bag salads have an expiration date. So you want to rotate that stock. So the first item that comes in, the freshest item that you have, goes in the front and we sell per unit. So every time the UPC scans against the till, that item would be then reduced in the inventory level. So think of FIFO, first in, first out, for any item that we sell as a single selling unit. The next way that we do periodic inventory counting is called LIFO, last in, first out, right? This idea is when we are selling bulk items specifically. So if you've ever gone to a grocery store and you've seen bulk items, right? Like bulk coffee, bulk flour and sugar, and multiple different other items. In this case, I'm going to use the example of jelly beans because I like jelly beans. And most of you as children used to go to your neighborhood candy store and buy your favorite different flavors of Jelly Bellies, right? So we're going to talk about jelly beans because that's one of the biggest items that draws children. So most of these candy stores specifically would be utilizing their LIFO skills. So let's take a pause and we'll get to the accounting. So our first example is FIFO, first in, first out. And at this example, what you're looking at is 4 purchase orders that have taken place over the entire month of January. So you have your date, your purchase order number, your quantity, your price per each, which is right here, and your total cost. So for this item specifically, it doesn't really matter with what item it is, but it is definitely a single sold item. So my first question is, what is the value of 300 units at the end of the month? So if we were to look, the grand total of the entire quantity of units that we have ordered to sell in our store is a total of 700 units, right? And the question is asking, if we had 300 units left on hand, what would the price be? So what we do is we take the quantity times the price per each to get our total cost. So some of the examples that you guys are going to get is going to just have the quantity and the total cost. So you're going to have to take total cost divided by quantity to figure out the price per each. Or you may get a question from me that says, here's your quantity, here's your price per each, what is the total cost? So please be aware that it's quantity times price per each to get total cost. And if you get it the opposite way, it's going to be total cost divided by quantity to get price per each, okay? So let's get started. So we know that at the end of the month, we sold through most of the 700 units. We were left with 300. Let's find out where it's going to go. So FIFO means first in, first out, which basically means the first PO that comes in is the first one that's going to be sold, right? To make moolah. So here we go. So we know that if we have 300 units left on hand and we are starting off with a total of 700, can we say that we sold through the 100? Yeah, we did. So the 100 units is now gone. So 700 minus 100 is how much? 600 units. I'm trying to make it real easy math for you guys, okay? Next one, if I have 600 units on hand, but I know that I'm only going to have 300 at the end of the month. Is 600 bigger than 300? Yes. Can we easily say that the second PO of 200 units must have been sold? Yes. Why? Because if we can take 600 and minus 200, are we still above that 300 mark? Yes, we are. So let's get a little closer here. So 600 minus 200 gives us how many units, guys? 400 units. So now you can also count them because 100 plus 300 is what? 400 units, right? So 400 units is still bigger than 300 units left on hand. And in theory, we always know by first in, first out that the last PO must still exist. So basically what we're saying is PO number 4 does exist. This is here. So something happens right here. Okay? where PO4 is fine because we have 100. But we know that we didn't sell through the entire 300. There is a problem right here, right? So how would we get to a total of 300 units if you know you have 100 units on hand? So you would have 100, and which means we only sold through 100. So we're going to cross this out, and we're going to have left, instead of 300, 200 units, okay? So this 200 units plus the 100 units from the left of PO4 means that we have found our 300 units, okay? Now we're going to have to do the math. So the math is this: 200 units times $3 a unit. I'm going to do it down here. So 200 units times $3 is how much money? So PO3 is now giving us $600 plus 100 units at 100 gives us $100 plus $100 of PO4. So our total amount of units for the end of the month is going to be $700 for 300 units of this item. That is how you solve for FIFO. The problem is this math right here, okay? So in theory, whenever you're doing FIFO, first in, first out, what you're doing is you're starting from the top and working your way to the bottom of units that you've actually sold out of your store. Okay, so you work from top to bottom in the numerical order, because that is the theory. The theory is the first inventory that you come in gets sold. Remember, bag salads have a best by date, so you want to sell the first inventory and then rotate your inventory stock from the first PO to the second PO. Once the second PO is sold out, then the third PO you start. But sometimes, in most of our inventory cases, by the end of the month, we sometimes order just a little bit more to make sure that our shelves don't go bare. The other issue, too, is throughout the month, we do run promotional ads, and some of those promotional ads, we expect certain uplifts, and an uplift means that you expect them to be buying more. And sometimes your uplift forecast could be wrong. For instance, right, bag salads right now are in because it's March. So bag salad has a real high time between January, February, and March because people are getting fit. They're trying to stay on their New Year's resolution. Bag salads are in because it's easy, it's convenient. They just have to throw protein on it and they can run and go. So it's a convenient factor specifically. So in bag salad, we're expecting to see, a very high amplitude of sales. Now, when an E. coli or Listeria outbreak happens and we're having to recall, a lot of people are going to question whether or not they should be eating salad to begin with. So it will hurt and affect sales. In this case, it looks like that it probably did affect sales. So instead of selling through their entire 700 units, they can't claim that as a current asset. They can't claim, hey guys, specifically for cost of goods sold, I bought 700 units and we sold through the $1,500 worth. Why? Because in reality, that's not what we did. It's like the same thing when we talk about buying supplies, right? Sometimes when we buy supplies, we had a supply expense and then we had to make that adjustment out in chapter 4, right? So we talked about the fact that if you buy more than you expect to use, you're going to return it. And if you return it, you're going to want to make that adjustment in your checkbook. Well, a lot of people in business, they still have to make these adjustments. So let's work on B. B is going to go ahead and be, what is the cost of good value of the 300 units? So originally we knew, and I'll do it in orange so you guys can see this a little bit better. So originally, the original cost of goods sold we expected to sell through was $1,500. That was the grand total of the original COGS, okay, based on 700 units. But because we didn't sell through 700 units, we only sold, 400 units, so we're going to have to do the math. So down here, let's go ahead. So the cost of goods sold, a value of 300 units, right? So originally speaking, what we're going to do is we're going to take, I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit closer down here for you guys so you can really see this. Okay, so check it out. So we start off with the original cost of goods sold, which is $1,500. So we take $1,500, which is the original cost of goods sold, and we're going to subtract it. I'll do it in black. Here we go. Minus, actually we'll do it in green because it was 700. Minus $700 So what is their new cost of goods sold that they're going to have to put on their income statement? $800. So for that so it basically just means that if we were to sell through the full 700 units, it would have shown up on our cost of goods sold as $1,500, right? But because we have inventory left on hand, we have 300 units left on hand from PO3 and PO4. So PO3 had 200 units, PO4 had 100 units to make up this $700 inventory value. So $700, this is the inventory value, by the way. Inventory. Okay, so 700 is the inventory value. Now, to understand the cost of goods sold, we're going to take the original cost of goods sold because we were hoping to sell through all the inventory, but we didn't. So you take 1,500 minus the $700, which is how much we still have left on hand, to come up with $800 is now your adjusted, or your true, I shouldn't say adjusted, it's your true cost of goods sold. Okay? And that's going to show up on your income statement. So that's why this is so important. FIFO works from the top down. LIFO, that I'm going to show you, works very similar, just backwards. LIFO works from the bottom to the top, okay? So we will be right back with LIFO.